All right, welcome back to this exciting video series. Very thrilling to be here. This is your boy Georgia Slim here, and we're getting into some bread and butter today with biophysical settings. What the fuck is biophysical settings? It is the vegetation system that may have been dominant on the landscape prior to European settlement. Uh, this is the native ecosystem, right? That was there before Europeans got here. Now, ecosystems don't stay the same, right? They change over time. And so, with biophysical settings, paired with that is succession classes. What are succession classes? Technically, we have the definition right here. Current vegetation conditions with respect to vegetation species composition, cover, and height ranges of successional states occurring within each biophysical setting. So succession classes are part of the ecosystem descriptions for the native ecosystems, which LANDFIRE calls biophysical settings. So we're using biophysical settings as a guide for our restoration plan because our restoration plan is also potential vegetation, right? Um, so we need to know what the biophysical settings are for our site in order to develop what's appropriate for that site. And I'm going to show you how to get that information. On the landfire.gov site, go to Get Data. We're going to go to the Map Viewer. The Map Viewer is on the left here. Click on LF Map Viewer, and it's going to open it up in a new tab. Now, I'm going to show you how to do this in QGIS first. I'm going to get that out of the way before we get into the meat and potatoes. If I would highly recommend using QGIS for your map plan. It's very useful. Um, doesn't take long to learn. So, in the LANDFIRE map viewer, but you can do this without QGIS, but I'm going to show you how to get it in QGIS first, get it out of the way. In the map viewer, go to data download. Oh, somebody, hello. In the data download box over here on the right, go to method GeoJSON. And in a previous video, I showed you how to do this, but you're going to open your GeoJSON file in Notepad, select the entire code, copy it, and paste it into this little text box. So yeah, in a previous video, I showed you how to make that GeoJSON file. But once you paste that code in, leave the projection there, and then select what you want to download. We want to download biophysical settings, and under fire regime is where you're going to find succession classes. These other things are useful as well. Maybe in some other videos we'll get to that. Down at the bottom of this menu, there's a little place for you to type in your email at email.com. Okay. Click on download. Go into your email. Go to the LANDFIRE email that you just got and click on that link in there. That's going to download a that's going to download a zip file. You're going to go into your file browsers and extract that zip file into the project folder that you're working on, where you have your other stuff, and it's going to put that stuff there. Now open up QGIS and open up your project. Go to your data source manager. This is going to be roster data, and click browse and go to your project folder and biophysical settings is BPS. Open up that. Now you downloaded a bunch of files here. The one we want to use is this TIFF file. Okay. So go ahead, add your BPS layer, and let's go ahead and add our succession class layer. Okay. Now get your roster attribute plugin from your plugins manager. Okay, under not installed, and you can download that through your plugins manager. But when you download a roster attribute table plugin, you can read the attribute tables that come with this data. And it has a lot of information in here, including the biophysical settings name. Okay. When you have the attribute table open, under the classification drop-down menu, classify it according to BPS name, and click yes. And that'll give you the colors that show up in the map viewer. And now you have this little spiffy biophysical settings layer for your site, and it's overlaid whatever your base map is. You can move it underneath your soil layer. Okay, and do the same thing with succession class layer. Go ahead and classify it by description. Here's your succession classes. We're going to get into what all this means in just a minute. So in your legend, it shows up what you've classified it as. So that's useful if you were making maps to show people. But what does all this mean? Well, I'll show you by doing it this way. If you're not using QGIS, you can zoom in, zoom way in to wherever your site is. You can use the search thing too. You can type in an address. I could have just done that. And on your left-hand side, you can turn these layers on. So let's work in the most updated one. Let's turn our biophysical settings layer on. It's loading the layers. And we use the identify tool. Now, see, I use the identify tool. The site properties are gone. So you may have to you can adjust the transparency of the layer that's selected down at the bottom of the layers menu. And then we can click on identify, and it'll give you over here in the identify box, it'll give you the values of all the layers that are being displayed. So if you want to change the transparency, you have to select the layer, scroll down, change the transparency. If you want multiple layers displayed, you can do that too. But for biophysical settings, you take the biophysical settings name. We're going to read the description of the ecosystem. Paste it here. Make sure you're downloading the document. It's a Word doc. You're going to go to landfirereview.org, paste it in locate BPS, paste the name in the search bar. Okay, sorry, I'm trying to go too fast here. Some documents are going to come up. In this case, only one. Make sure that you check mark the correct document for your map zone. And your map zone is over here in the LANDFIRE map viewer under Boundaries, US LANDFIRE Zones. You may have to zoom out a little bit to see your LANDFIRE zone displayed. Here's 54. Here are the LANDFIRE zones, kind of like what they look like. So you're going to download selected documents, download all selected documents, and it's going to be a zip file with those Word docs in there. I'll open this one up right here, and this is what the Word doc looks like. It is a description of the ecosystem, and it includes succession classes. The second part of it is the succession classes. Okay, so it goes through some geographic range information, map zones, a biophysical site description, which talks a little bit about some geology, you know, landscape features, and a little bit of the vegetation. That gets into more detailed descriptions of vegetation in the next section. You can start to see a plant list coming together here. It goes over the canopy, the understory, and the midstory. So all the layers of the woodland there. Has some dominant and indicator species table right there for you with the USDA species symbols if you need them. Now remember, ecosystems change over time, and they change according to disturbances. Part of the ecosystem definition is what disturbances are typical of that system. For the southern Piedmont dry oak pine forest, fire and grazing is a pretty important, or two real important ones. That's not going to be the case for all ecosystems. Some it's flooding, some it's just wind and ice damage. It really depends on the ecosystem. So get to learn your ecosystem's disturbances, not just the plant communities, but the disturbances. Fire table is going to be, for most ecosystems, are going to have this fire table, even wetland ecosystems, but you may not see these low numbers in some of the wetland ecosystems. Scale description, how big were these ecosystems? And then some concerns and comments, issues and problems at the end of this description. So we have adjacency concerns. Ecoregion boundaries present some very interesting kind of like transitional zones, and it just talks about what ecosystems that this particular, what other ecosystems that this one transitions into. Some issues and problems with the ecosystems currently in modern times, and the native uncharacteristic conditions. Then we get into succession classes. This is more about changing ecosystems, and how, this table, a lot of these tables, mapping rules and stuff like that has to do with ecosystem modeling, which we're not doing. You can if you want to, and this will be useful for that stuff, but I'm not getting into that. But you can study these tables and learn a little bit more about succession, tree cover, and succession classes from this table. There's, in each biophysical settings description, there is shorter, down here in the succession classes section, there are short descriptions for each succession class, and there's 5, A, B, C, D, and E. Now each succession class B is going to be different depending on what biophysical settings that you're in. They may not always be mid-development closed. So again, it can be kind of complicated, but just take it one ecosystem at a time, one succession class at a time. You can see what succession class, we have our 2020 data. And so in 2020, these are the succession classes that these ecosystems were in. So with up-to-date succession class data from LANDFIRE, you can see what succession classes that you're currently in for the native ecosystem remnants that you might have. It's not, so these red areas is uncharacteristic exotic. We have some development up here. So it's not all native ecosystems, but the ecosystem remnants that we have, and this is a park, so it's pretty good, but the ecosystem remnants that we have are in different succession states, which is good. And we can read about the succession states in the biophysical settings. And if you're wondering about, just a quick little side note about eastern grasslands and southeastern grasslands, this is where you're going to find a lot of those grasslands, is here in the succession classes of forest descriptions. We're in the southern Piedmont dry oak pine forest description here, and we have succession class D, late development open, where the trees, upper layer life form, are now the dominant life form. The herbaceous understory is predominant. It's a prairie, savanna, open woodland. Okay, so so just remember that you may not always be restoring a forest. A forest is just one type of ecosystem. You're going to need to get out in the field to do some sleuthing yourself, to really put together a good farm plan. You want to know what's there now, and then what the site could potentially support. And what the site could potentially support or historically had supported is what biophysical settings is. Succession classes can help you determine where you're at and what you might need to be restoring to. And you can also use these probabilistic transitions for some ideas about some management practices that you can use in your restoration plans. These are just the disturbances and the probability of those disturbances for ecosystem modeling, but we can use these for appropriateness. Here we have some surface fire. We can use prescribed fire for ecosystem restoration for this forest type, obviously. We can use it quite frequently. Grazing, maybe not as frequently, but with rotational grazing, proper forage selection, it's possible to use grazing. Alternative succession just means that you don't do anything. In some wetland ecosystems, there you might have flooding 1, flooding 2, flooding 3. These are different flood severities, but here we don't have that. I would not encourage anyone to try to use a replacement fire. That is basically a wildfire, a massive canopy fire, so don't do that. Wind and weather stress can be imitated by selective thinning. You see that it doesn't happen very often, so we can speed up succession sometimes with the grazing, with frequent grazing and some hard thinning, not clear cutting, so we can speed up succession to kind of do it Miyawaki style. But it's according to these biophysical settings. Okay, don't just think that you're going to be able to do this with any ecosystem. You need to know which ecosystem that you're working with and working toward. We have insect and disease. Disease can be mimicked with selective herbicide. Okay. Just be smart about it. Don't do too much disturbance at once. And if you are, be smart and monitor what you're doing. Make sure some of that disturbance is planting. If you're doing a lot of thinning, do some planting. And you can get some planting ideas from your biophysical settings description as well. All these plants. There's other ways to add to those plant lists I'll get to in other videos maybe, but that is it for now. That's your biophysical settings and succession classes. I hope this has been useful. In the next video, I'll get into a little bit more about plant associations and alliances and more details with NatureServe. So stay tuned. Sorry it took so long. Peace out, y'all.